Okay, Namo Om Vishnu Badaya Krishna Pushtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasisha Shanyavhari Pashtatade Shatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna. So we continue on with chapter chapter 12. This is part two of spontaneous devotional service in practice. Yeah, I didn't see Simon didn't join us as yet.
He was said that he was busy these days, but he's going to try his best to join. You know Simon, right?
Yeah, I do. I know him.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I know he's welcome to join. When I was thinking if he joined right now, he'd be joining right in when we're discussing the highest aspects of devotional practice. So it might be best he might not join right at this moment.
Yeah, he said he's going to watch the all the previous videos and
Okay, well, no, he's welcome to watch when anytime he
yeah,
comes.
yes. Well,
Well,
he's because he is aware that you're in India and
okay.
uh, due to his work, sometimes he cannot join the 12:30.
Okay, welcome Bala Nimai Prabhu. You made it at Christmas time. Well
Hare
done.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Well done. Hare Krishna. All right, so we're continuing. We're just going to finish today, chapter 12, which is spontaneous devotional service in practice, part two. And last week we left off just here. So we get straight into it, so to speak. Very important subject is very relevant and important subject is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spontaneous devotion. What role does he play? Well, he plays a very, very big role, a very important role. Because yeah, now basically any discussion about spontaneous devotional service, yeah, it's not complete without trying to understand the role of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is what we're trying to do today. Okay, why is that? Well, it's previous to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this confidential revelation of the Lord's personal abode and pastimes in the Vraj and the spontaneous loving devotion was only known by very few rare souls, generally not known at all. Not even by studying the Vedas would you be able to easily come across what Lord Chaitanya made available. And what's amazing is that this highest aspect of Godhead in his ultimate personal form, this is what Lord Chaitanya came and to give to everyone. That's why Lord Chaitanya is known as the most magnanimous avatar of the Supreme Lord. So it's actually his desire that this spontaneous devotion be available to everyone. So that which is practiced in that highest realm to be available. Yeah. So in other words, also we cannot attain this realm or attain an understanding of this spontaneous devotion without Lord Chaitanya's grace and mercy. So a very important role he plays. So it's essential in this study of spontaneous devotional service. There's a verse here by Narottam Das. I didn't put it on the slide, but I just read it. Um, yeah, as I mentioned, it's hidden in the Vedas, especially in this age, Kali Yuga. It's very difficult for persons to fathom and understand without the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Maharaj then quotes Narottam Das Thakur. I just read the trans. This is from Pradhana, wonderful book by Narottam Das Thakur. It says, the path of love for Krishna is winding and crooked, and it is slippery, being filled with mud mixed with musk, kumkum, and sandalwood paste. Okay, it's quite poetic description. But again, it's not so easily attained. It's easier to obtain the abode of Lord Ramachandra. It's easy to obtain Vaikuntha. It's more straightforward in one sense. This is what he's saying here. But to attain the abode of Goloka, where there's the just ragatmaka bhakti, completely spontaneous devotion with no kind of sense of Krishna's position as the supreme personality of Godhead, is extremely rare. Yeah. Um, yeah, then Raj quotes Bhagavad Gita 7.3. Anyone knows 7.3? No, you're not so into verses, Alexander. Have you learnt the verse yet? No, you refused to learn. So 7.3, Bala Nimai, do you know the verse? 3?
Is it Manusyanam Sahasreshu?
Correct. Go on, you can continue.
Kaschit is Yatati Siddhai. Sorry, I'm just carrying a toddler. um,
Yat
Manusyanam Sahasreshu.
api siddhanam kashtim mam veti tattvataha.
Right.
Yeah. So there it's mentioned, it's very rare. Many thousands among men, one day, or one may endeavor for perfection. Only one knows me in truth. Yeah. But still, the principle of surrender to our Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu can make that which is very difficult very easy. There's a particular verse in that regard, where if you remember Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, then the most difficult things become easy. And if you forget him, the most easy things become difficult. Yeah. So we have a great boon by the blessings of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah. So therefore, on our path, we really, because well, I'm in the holy Dharma of Mayapur at the moment, and it's saturated with his magnanimous spirit. It's such a wonderful place, Mayapur Dham, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very wonderful. Yeah, so especially plays a important role in our development of the specific type of devotion which we're aiming for. Yeah. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, this is from Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, quote, simply by taking shelter of the lotus feet of Gauranga, a person enters a path of spontaneous devotion. Okay, so sounds quite simple. Yeah, simply by taking the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. So we'll elaborate on what that exactly is. We'll discuss that. So, in other words, it's not just, Lord Chaitanya himself, but Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. By engaging in his Sankirtan movement in some way or other, in some shape or form, yeah, that is like akin to cultivating spontaneous devotion. Yeah. So in other words, what do we do in Lord Chaitanya? Remember, it says Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. Yeah. Preaching, distributing books, performing Harinam, Sankirtan, and also everything connected to the Sankirtan movement as well. Sometimes when we speak about this, or you may hear discussions or classes on this, normally the focus is on book distribution, Let's go and do Sankirtan to actually get the mercy of the Lord, which is true, absolutely true. But those who are supporting the Sankirtan mission, those who are perhaps doing the transfer in the Sankirtan mission, in the temple of the Sankirtan mission, those who are cleaning the temple room, or those who are doing some service which is linked to the Sankirtan movement. I know, Bala Nimaipu, you do a lot of nice service on the internet, isn't it?
I try to, Prabhu.
You try to, you do.
Yeah.
What's your name on the internet? Tell me again.
I had a channel called Ben Loco, which is like
Yeah, Ben Loco. I actually came
Yeah.
across it the other day. You have thousands of followers.
At some point there's something happening there. I
Yeah,
don't know what, but yeah.
great. And I saw a couple of your videos. I've seen them over before. So so you're taking part in the Sankirtan movement. You're spreading it in your own way, in a very dynamic way, according to what's going on in the world. So we're all taking part. We may not be every day on Bhakti Shivation or get the opportunity to go on Harinam. Those who, if anyone listens to this recording, you might be a housewife, looking after the kids. But you should have deities, or should have you're part of the Sankirtan movement. Yeah. But specifically, Maharaj does, he mentions, tending the spiritual services that we have, even at temple or at home, So this is practicing the ninefold principles of devotion. Yeah. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Parasevanam, Achanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So this is taking part in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, which you're invoking the blessings of Lord Chaitanya, which is giving you the ticket or giving you the adhikar to obtain spontaneous devotion. Maharaj also mentions visiting the holy places where Lord Krishna performed these pastimes in Vrindavan and then Mayapur. So that says we're in touch with the land of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. The other day here in Mayapur, we went on Panchakrosha Parikram, which is it's the parikram around the immediate area of Antadweep. It took all day, but if you're just with a small group, it takes about 3 hours. We was accompanied by about 1,000 devotees, so it took a bit longer. But it's really beautiful. We stop at different places of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Really wonderful. And a lot of devotees, they take advantage of Raj Mandal Parikram, hear all the tales, stories of Krishna's pastimes. Yeah. Right. So Maharaj brings up a question here. How is it that by serving, he gets in more details here. Why is it, how is it that by serving Lord Chaitanya, one gains adhikar for spontaneous devotion? Yeah. And he brings out the point here that Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Radha and Krishna. Radha, Krishna, nahi anya. Yeah. So, then Nortam Das, he explains that one who surrenders the wonderful bhajan. What's the beginning of it? I can't remember that wonderful bhajan about this point, that one who surrenders to Lord Chaitanya, that means taking part in his Sankirtan movement, is counted as a confidential associate of Radha and Krishna. So that's quite esoteric. We might not at our particular stage have insight into the details of that. That comes in the next chapter, actually. We're speaking about Bhava. Yeah. But Maharaj mentions it's just a matter of time. We'll speak about that more if we get to the next chapter. Yeah. And any questions or comments along the road, please shout out. Hare Krishna. Yeah. And this is from Pratana. You could read this, Alexander, for us.
Yeah. Anyone who takes pleasure in sporting in the waves of the ocean of Lord Chaitanya's distribution of love of God is at once a confidential devotee of Radha and Madhava. Whether he is a sannyasi or a householder, a devotee who calls out to the Lord and serves his Sankirtan movement is always liberated. Narottama Das aspires for his company.
Yeah. It's just a matter of time before that jewel becomes realized. But it's there because we're serving the mission of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he asks another question. The mood that we serve Lord Chaitanya or the Sankirtan movement, it's a mood of reverential service to Lord Chaitanya. Yeah. So then he asks a question: how can that mood of reverential, Lord Chaitanya, as he revealed in Mahaprakash, he is the Supreme Lord. So our position is that we are his humble servants. So how can that mood develop into spontaneous spirit which is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. Yeah, so that's a question he brings out. So, but then he brings out the mood. So the mood of Lord Chaitanya, or the mood of Lord Chaitanya is Krishna in the mood of Radharani. And this is quite esoterical. I think you have to think about this. Sometimes it can be understood. You say he is Radha, but he's not Radha. He is Krishna, but he's so steeped in the mood of Radha that as if that he is experiencing Radha. You know, he's in a mood of Radha, but very deeply, deeply relishing the love of Radha. So he becomes completely as if transformed into her love, so to speak. Yeah. So that's his mood. And Radharani is very, 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 very kind, kinder than any mother in the universe, very compassionate. So so Lord Chaitanya in that mood becomes very pleased with those who are serving Krishna because he's in a mood of Radha, especially if they've got great faith and very important, and great humility. Yeah. So then Maharaj mentions that he infuses spontaneous devotion in these servants' hearts. Now, we're speaking about this as if it happens from one day to the next. No, we're just compressing. Something is just compressing the philosophy and the different stages. But generally, it may not happen from one day to the next, but it does happen. And I'm speaking about the next chapter because I was studying it just before. Marge will speak about that, how sometimes we have to be patient, you know. So now in serving Krishna, there's the five types of mellows, but we serve Lord Chaitanya in the mood of servants. Yeah, so he mentions sincere service to him results in the awakening of one's relationship with the divine couple in any of the five moods. Yeah, so that's the only way. It sounds like the only way to come through the Father is through. The only way to come to the divine couple is through Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. That's what we should say to Christians when they say the only way to come through Jesus is through the God is through Jesus. Yeah, well, the only way to come through the divine couple is through Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. They won't know what the hell you're speaking about, you know. Yeah. So, Radha and Krishna, they do not, yeah, their pastimes don't directly manifest in the Sankirtana movement. Exactly. Yeah. Although that's the case, full realization or the abdomen of mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does fructify in the development specifically of Madhurya Rasa. That's there in that verse of Anapita Chiram Chirat Kuruna Avitina Karo Samapetum Unajvala Rasam Sabhakti Suryam Hari Purad Sundar Kadamba Shanti Peta Sada Hritaye Kandare Sporatu Va Sachinandanaha. So specifically coming to reveal that which is the most confidential of the most confidential. Yeah. So then, again, it's by Lord Chaitanya's blessings that one becomes fit to render service to Radha and Krishna. Yes. Okay, we're all convinced that we need the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, engaging in his Sankirtana movement. All convinced, all two of you. Well done. You're the only two who didn't get entangled with Christmas.
Agreed.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Agreed. Sorry, no, I didn't have a question.
Okay. All right, so now we're gonna read a poem now. This is by Krishnadas Kaviraj from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's very beautiful. It describes what we just described in a very poetic way, and it's really beautiful. So perhaps we can all read one slide each. There's one. Okay, I hope you can read the writing. Bala Nima, you can read this.
Yeah. All devotees should hear about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes with faith and love. By the grace of the Lord, one can attain the shelter of his lotus feet. By understanding the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can understand the truth about Krishna. By understanding Krishna, one can understand the limit of all knowledge described in various revealed scriptures.
Okay, Alexander. Yeah.
The pastimes of Lord Krishna are the essence of all nectar, and that nectar is flowing in hundreds of rivers in all directions. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are an eternal reservoir, and one is advised to let his mind swim like a swan in this transcendental lake.
Beautiful, huh? With all humility, I submit myself to the lotus feet of all you devotees, taking the dust from your feet as my bodily ornaments. Now, my dear devotees, please hear one thing more from me. Okay, go again, brother.
Devotional service to Krishna is exactly like a pleasing, jubilant forest of lotus flowers, wherein there is ample honey. I request everyone to taste this honey. If all the mental speculators bring the bees of their minds into this forest of lotus flowers and jubilantly enjoy ecstatic love of Krishna day and night, their mental speculation will be completely transcendentally satisfied. The devotees who have a relationship with Krishna are like the swans and Chakravaka birds who play in that forest of lotus flowers. The buds of those lotus flowers are the pastimes of Krishna, and they are edibles for the swan-like devotees.
Can you see, is there, oh, let me move this. Can you see this thing I'm moving?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's get it out of the way. I don't know why it's there. Okay. Lord Shri Krishna is always engaged in his transcendental pastimes. Therefore, the devotees following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can always eat those lotus buds, for they are the pastimes of the Lord. All the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should go to that lake and remaining always under the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu become swans and chakravaka birds in those celestial waters. Alexander ji, so I jumped in there.
The devotees who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu take the responsibility for distributing nectarian devotional service all over the world. They are like clouds pouring water on the ground that nourishes the fruit of love of Godhead in this world. The devotees eat that fruit to their heart's content, and whatever remnants they leave are eaten by the general populace. Thus they live happily.
And this last one, Balinima.
Yeah. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are full of nectar, and the pastimes of Lord Krishna are like camphor. When one mixes these, they taste very sweet. By the mercy of the pure devotees, whoever tastes them can understand the depths of that sweetness. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 25 to 69.
So nice.
77.
So that really encapsulates that whole section, you know, the irrelevance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spontaneous devotion. Really beautiful description. Right, so that concludes chapter 12. Okay, we just grab this to remember that. Yeah, Siddha Finale. How to know which rasis to follow? Well, no need to ask, it will be revealed. The activity, we got into that, the activities or spontaneous practice, what's favorable for it, what's not, what is neutral, etc. Living in Vrindavan, Uh, yeah, when more about the exalted status of the exalted status of spontaneous practice and its sadhana, this raganuga sadhana. It takes a lot of purification and purity of heart to engage in the necessary depth of meditation to really do it justice. As we described about that, different stages of absorption, and we elaborated on the different stages of remembrance, yeah, smaran, dharana, dhyana, anusmriti, samadhi. These should be experienced in our development of chanting the holy name, how deep we can go. Yeah. And then the transition to spontaneous devotion from regulative practice in previous life, gave examples of that in the present life, after regular practice has matured. And that's generally one that's very relevant for us. Yeah. And then we discussed this. Yeah. Okay. So let me bring up next chapter. Any questions before we get there? Okay, what's happened here? Can you still see the?
The what?
Can't see the slideshow now.
Okay, 1 second. I'll just
It's
share.
kind of-
Again. Okay, coming one, two. Don't want that one. You want this one? Okay, 1 second. There we are, we got there. Hare Krishna. So it's chapter 13, devotional service in ecstasy, also known as bhava. Okay. So we have these three stages, as we mentioned in the beginning. This is Rupa Goswami explains this. We have Vaidhi, and that should lead to bhava, and then that leads to prema. So Vaidhi, bhava, and prema. Yeah. Now this is the fruit of sadhana, the fruit of what we are doing. We are doing sadhana bhakti. Yeah. The fruit is that devotees will enter into this realm, and it is a realm, as you hear when we describe it. It's a whole realm, it's a whole world of ecstatic devotion. In Srimad Bhagavatam, I think teachings of Lord Kapila, it describes that you hear there's a verse when real devotion starts, actually it's considered this is real devotion. We are practicing devotion. We may not be invested with this ecstatic devotion here, this realm of ecstatic devotion, but it is the fruit of what we are practicing. Yeah, like every endeavor, there should be some fruit. If you're doing an endeavor, if you're learning to do this, there should be a fruit. So the fruit of our practice, this is what it actually is. So this is what we want to achieve. Yeah, and Maharaj makes quite a big issue of this, that if we're doing sadhana and we don't developing this desire to achieve this, it's highly unlikely that we're going to achieve it. We have to be conscientiously having it in mind that actually we do want to obtain this. Yeah. Now, in the beginning, Maharaj brings out it's not so easily obtained. Yeah, it's not like in one place he mentions it's not like buying a bag of rice in a supermarket. you know, and that's the whole. We'll read about that later, in more details of why that is exactly so. Um, so we're going to begin. Marge is going to begin with a brief description of the path from sadhana to abhava, and to give a brief, and it will be brief. And then he's going to explore the wonders of, we're going to try and understand what's actually going on from our limited perspective in someone who's achieved this stage, and what it actually looks like, what it tastes like, what it actually is. Although we cannot fully appreciate it from our perspective, at least we can hear about it, you know. Now, but before he does, Marge is going to encourage us, because we heard it's very rare. Yeah. So Rupa Goswami, he in his Upadeshamrita, as you know, he instructs devotees to be patient. I've mentioned this before because often devotees are impatient. Yeah, so patience is very much required in devotional service. First thing to keep in mind, you know. Maharaj mentions that devotees are often restless, you know. Sometimes they become, perhaps we might experience that ourselves, you know, some devotees become despondent, yeah, with their struggles with material attachments, let alone attaining bhava. It may be slow coming. Yeah. Alexander.
Uh, I'm just a thought came in my mind about impatience related to greed. Uh, how the person who has developed some, perhaps even a shadow of greed, is he patience? Is he where he can wait to speak about certain things or engage in certain practices?
Yeah, it's a different context. What's really meant here is that devotees being impatient and they're not at this, they haven't achieved a stage of even nishta, you know, they're still
Mm,
struggling with material attachments, so there can't really be any really real greed there at that stage. They're still greedy for the material world,
mm,
you know.
okay.
But so this stage, at the beginning stages, then sometimes devotees, this despondency or this coming to or realizing one's conditioned nature, sometimes devotees, unless they're doing good sadhana and they've got good association, they can sometimes doubt. They sometimes doubt themselves, can actually follow the process, or they doubt the process itself. So these are young devotees who become impatient. Or
Okay.
they become, yeah, they start,
Uh,
yeah, they start have an existential, you know, crisis when they realize it's not so forthcoming of what they're reading in the books. And if
mm,
they've still got material attachments, then sometimes if they're not patient, it can have detrimental effects, you know. So really we're speaking about this type of devotee here, you know, not someone at the level of Lahoba. That's a
okay.
different discussion. Yeah. Um, yeah, so you know, sometimes purity, they think the platform of becoming Nishta is so difficult. You know, how can I, Maharaj mentions, ever catch a glimpse of this perfection which we're always hearing and speaking about, you know. But then he speaks as if then he gives them Krishna speaks of reassuring words. Um, and he quotes 1866, I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. I remember one time, I forget, I remember one time I was on book distribution many years ago, and I was going through, I was having these type of doubts, you know. And then it was exactly like this. It was coming from within, it was coming from within my heart. It's this verse here. Always think of me. I felt that sense Krishna was encouraging. Don't worry. Just continue the process. Have faith. Just worship me. Think of me. Pay your obeisances to me, and you will come to me without fail. So this verse is an encouraging. Krishna is encouraging his devotees. Without fail, you will come to me, and I'm promising you this. Yeah. So, and you see this picture here. Um, Often devotees are impatient. There's this story of, I don't know if I told this story here, um, where these group of, did I tell it here? You can let me know if I did, and I won't tell it again. It's about the monkeys that are raiding the mangoes from the king's orchard. No? Okay, it's good. You may have heard it. But there was these monkeys, and the best mango trees happen to be directly in the king's private gardens, yeah, with walls and guards, you know. So what these monkeys would do is they would, you know, send their younger ones, the quicker monkeys, to go and steal the mangoes. But inevitably speaking, you know, because in India they have catapults to get rid of the monkeys. So they would always come back injured. They they would always come back, you know, petrified and with injuries, being hit with sticks or being shot with a catapult. So then they was trying to figure out, you know, how to get, you know, how can we get hold of such good mangoes without going through such, you know, such difficulty. So then they thought, well, why don't, you know, well, the king's got mangoes, you know, okay, why don't we plant our own mango trees? We can have our own mangoes. Pretty good idea. So I said, yeah, well, let's do that. So then they sent their youngest, most fastest monkey over to grab a mango. So he grabbed the mango, the stones were flying everywhere, and he jumped over the wall and he got back and they had the mango. Okay. So then they, you know, took the pulp out and they dug a hole and they put the mango seed in the ground and they covered it over and they sat there and they watched. 10 seconds passed. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes passed. 3 minutes passed. They started to get agitated and look at one another. And then in the end, they couldn't wait hardly. And they dug it up, you know, looking for the mango tree. So impatient. So a mango tree to reach maturity and give the best mangoes, it takes about 12 to 15 years, you know. So the same with this stage of bhava. You know, we may get shadows for encouragement of some feelings of ecstasy, but this actual stage in its full manifestation is going to take you could say it take a career, a lifetime career to actually come to this stage in the full sense of the term, you know. But one will come to this stage. This is the point that Maharaj is bringing out here. And Krishna is encouraging his devotee that to push forward for the goal. Yeah, for the same initial reason that we took up devotion. That same type of determination should carry us through all the way until we obtain this fruit of our sadhana. Yeah, Krishna makes promises, and especially makes promises to his devotees. Maharaj mentions here, the Lord vows never to let sincere service go unrewarded. Yeah. Krishna is aware of every little bit of devotional service that we do. You know. At some point, Krishna's going to let us know how thankful he is for the service that we've done for him. Now, he can't do that all at once because we won't be able to function. We won't be able to function. So, you know, it will come, yeah, where Krishna will show from within that he's been there all the time and he's so thankful for the service that we have done, you know. So, yeah, Krishna doesn't let any service go unrewarded. Yeah, and there's different reasons. There's another discussion on why and how Krishna gives his mercy. That's another discussion. But the main point here is that we should have full confidence. Oh, let's check time. Yeah. Yeah. So now, although we should have patience and we should have confidence, Maharaj makes an important point here that that it's no substitute for being painstakingly attentive to the details of how to render devotional service. Yeah. So we need patience, we need determination, utsahan nishtayat dhayat, and we need Krishna's grace. Yeah. So also, yeah, be attentive to the practice, and that's what we're doing here. We're really getting into the details of our devotional practice, you know. Um, Now, this next slide is a purport which I've read many times, and the first time I read it, I took note of it, and it's really amazing. Bala Nimaipu, you could read this for us.
Yep. Why then are there severe types of penance for the perfection of devotional service? An easygoing life and attainment of perfection in transcendental realization cannot go together. The Lord is more clever than any living entity, therefore, he wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. The order is received from the Lord, either directly or through the bona fide spiritual master, and to execute that order, however painstaking, is the severe type of penance. One who follows the principle rigidly is sure to achieve success in attaining the Lord's mercy. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.24 purport.
All right. So it's not all going to be laid on the plate. Yeah, this is Lord Brahma's prayers for creative energy, and he went through some really intense austerity, and eventually got the mercy of the Lord. Yeah. So it's going to be painstaking. There's going to be different tests. There's going to be different trials are going to come up. But if we can continue, we continue grabbing that bee bag every day, no matter what the world throws at us, and we somehow continue our devotional practice, we may have specific instructions from the spiritual master. As you know, Prabhupada got personal instructions from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur to spread Krishna consciousness in the West. And it was painstaking for Prabhupada. It wasn't all laid on the plate. Prabhupada had to go through so much, you know. But so Prabhupada's speaking from his own experience here. One who follows this principle, following the orders and the direction of the spiritual master, is sure to achieve success in attaining Lord's mercy. So Prabhupada is speaking from personal experience, Yes. Yeah, in other
Let there
words,
be calamities.
sorry?
Let there be calamities, like quantitative.
Yeah, Vipado Santata Shasvat Tattva Tattva Kakuru Bhavaro Taranam Dasya Apuna Bhava Darshanam. Yeah, very nice. She says, let them come for whenever they come, then we constantly see you. Yeah. Queen Kunti, she exemplifies amazing. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so meticulously efforts, Marge mentions in devotional service. So if we are meticulously making an effort every day, we sit down to control our mind for 2 hours. Yeah. Every day we have a mind controlling session. That's good. Now, gradually, because that's the most difficult thing to control because it's subtle, you know. But through the print, not just japa, actually, when we're doing any devotional activity, we should want to be absorbed in Krishna, kirtan, or doing some practical service. The mind is not just in japa, we have to fight with the mind, maybe, but also other times in a day. But if we're meticulously trying, yeah, then at some point we're going to gain a bit of mastery over the mind and senses. And then we're going to achieve steadiness. Yeah, steady, be able to more take better advantage of hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. So Marge is going to speak now about the unfolding of devotion. And yeah, so he mentioned it. So the first, then from this steadiness, nishta, then he speaks about ruchi, its taste, and its intense taste. Yeah, sometimes the taste from bhakti can be aggressive, aggressive. It's so strong. Yeah. Yeah. So this intense taste for the activities of devotional service. So yeah, which far outweighs the taste for anything else on this planet. Yeah. Yeah. So an intense taste, this comes from after nishta or ruchi. Now that taste, it gets churned because you're experiencing something, that taste, and you're delving into it more. You're churning what you're experiencing. Then that will manifest as a Shakti, which means a natural magnetic attachment to Krishna. Just as we have a magnetic attraction to the objects of the senses at our conditioned stage, at this stage of a Shakti, you have a magnetic attraction for Krishna. So almost, Marge describes it in another book. It's almost, devotees just, maybe cooking for Krishna. Then, he slightly takes his mind goes in a slight direction. Oh, Krishna, Mother Yasoda, Radharani cook for Krishna. And then a whole realm opens up. And one's mind and intelligence go right in, right into that realm. And he loses touch with the external world. And in their heart and mind, they're as if they're experiencing what Radharani is experiencing, cooking for Krishna. That's a Shakti, you know. Now, what happens then, Maharaj describes this very nicely, then that's when the heart really gets jeto, darpanama, that's when the heart gets polished, it gets polished, getting really polished. When that, sometimes devotees say, oh, I'm really getting purified. Sometimes it means they're having a hard time. I guess you're getting purified, but real purification is when you're getting a taste. This is really, oh, then one is really getting purified. You just because you may be coming to terms with your attachment to the opposite sex when you're doing Sankirtana in the summer in central London. The devotee comes back and says, "Oh, I'm really getting purified." Yeah, you are. But real purification is when one is at this stage of ruchi and shakti. Yeah. So what Maharaj describes it to such an extent that it's as if Krishna appears in the heart, you know? Yeah. Now at this stage, sometimes, yeah, at this stage, um, devotee they have an intuitive understanding of their specific they recognize specific attraction to Krishna in a specific relationship, but it's not mature. They don't have full revelation of that to the degree that they can practice that in their bhajan, but they're feeling a specific attraction in a certain way to Krishna. Okay. Okay, next
Let's
slide.
ask a question
Yes.
on that.
Balanima.
Yes, so these higher stages when someone is getting purified, obviously when we're in a lower stage, we understand that purification means to remove anarthas or to
Yeah,
clean our misconceptions.
yeah.
What is the thing that's being purified at that stage? Is it still that there are some anarthas left, or is it that there is some misconception that needs to be removed at that stage?
Yeah, well, the purification, because the meditation is so complete and so intense, it's cleansing, a lot's getting cleansed quickly. Yes, there is still subtle attachments. There is still anarthas that one has to go through. It is not the end of it. Yeah, yeah. There's still stuff, there's still residue that one has to go through. So, but at this stage, because of the intensity of the meditation, it's like a flamethrower. And it's really is making a lot of advancement very quickly at this stage, you know. So they're still getting purified of material attachments, but more subtle. And we've got more subtle attachments than we do have gross attachments. Because our subtle body has been in this material world for countless births. We get new fresh bodies, but we don't get new fresh subtle bodies.
Mm.
So we picked up a lot of stuff. So at this stage, one's, yeah, by through very meticulously trying to control the mind and senses, and one comes to this stage. Yeah, so that does that help? Is that
Yeah, thanks.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so this then is Shakti. Yeah. Now this stage is called of a Shakti. This stage, Krishna's you grab Krishna's becoming attentive. He's becoming attracted to the devotee's love at this stage. It's not as if he's not interested or attracted before. Yeah, Krishna's ecstatic when someone first steps inside the temple, you know. But this stage, because Krishna cannot resist pure love, at this stage, one is attracting the bumblebee, Maharaj mentions, of Krishna, Madhusudana. And Maharaj mentions here quite poetically, he's buzzing around the wonderful garden of the wonderful creepers that are manifesting from this stage. Yeah. And Maharaj then he mentions here, I'll just read directly. He flies towards them, kisses them, and makes them burst with the fragrance of divine love, Rati. So that's another name for Bhava. So now we've come to Bhava. Yeah. Now, this stage, one is free. There is no modes of material nature. One is now, after billions and billions and billions of births and billions and trillions of universes, one is free, free from matter. Yeah. That's Bhava. Yeah. And it blossoms in their hearts, you know. Of course, there's no other, there's nothing else, nothing in any universe, yeah, that they want, you know. Um, yeah, so in other words, perfection has dawned. It's not fully manifested, it's dawning. Yeah. And their hearts become, their hearts become as if the seat of their heart becomes illuminated with ecstasy and joy, 24 hours a day. Yeah, yeah. And in the Bhagavad Gita it said, upon gaining this, they think there's no greater gain. Chapter 6, when it speaks about samadhi, you know.
Wait, sorry for it.
Follow
Sorry,
me.
the when you say there's no modes of nature or no material body, does that mean that they're not in the material world anymore? Is that like
No, they're still in a material body,
still have?
still embodied, but as we read on, that ecstasy which they experience spiritualizes their body. Yeah, so their body becomes like an iron rod becomes like fire.
Okay.
Their body, although externally looks material, but it's become spiritualized.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that Marge will speak about. Yeah, so this is all going on within the embodied jiva within the material world. Yeah. Now you can understand this is all internal, and it may not be recognized by all devotees as well. You know, that's a whole different discussion. Yeah. Okay, so that was Maharaj's introduction to this bhava. Okay. So now 5 minutes left. So this is a definition, Suddha Sattva Vishesh Sattva. This is a definition from Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu. Rupa Goswami gives a wonderful definition of sadhana. He gives a definition of bhava. He gives a definition of prema. Suddha Sattva here. Yes, so Suddha Sattva, what's it? Suddha Sattva Shanatma. I forget the Sanskrit, but so here. Suddha Sattva Visheshatma. Yeah. Prema Amsu Susu Yabak. Yeah. So now prema, that is the fruit ultimately of mature devotional practice. But prema is first going to make its appearance in an immature, you can say in a seed-like form, and that's bhava. Yeah. So the seed-like form of prema is that bhava which we just gave an introduction to. Yeah. So this bhav also is known as, sometimes it could be known as, Maharaj uses the word stahi bhav. And stahi bhav is the constant ecstasy of relationship between Krishna and the devotee, yeah, which is spiked with other ecstasies. But there is a predominant steady ecstasy, like from Mother Yasoda, it's an ecstasy of fraternal affection for Krishna, for example. That's a stahi bhav. Yeah. Yeah, so Maharaj mentions the relationship maybe as an admirer, a servant, a friend, a parental figure, or a conjugal lover. We all know that is different relationship with Krishna. Now, as their love develops, so this specific mood develops as well. Yeah. Yeah, one time someone asked, just finish on this point perhaps. One time someone asked a question in class. I was asking the question how to really understand, do we actually, when we go to the spiritual world, whether we're a bee, whether we're a peacock, whether we're a cow, whether we're this, whether we're that, you know. And I mean, I was listening to the answer. I was very interested in what the answer would be. And there's different ways you could answer it. But certainly it was, but it's not, it's not exactly like that, that we, as we're discussing here, that one, you don't know what's going to happen, where one's going. Will I be a bee? Will I be, would I be? No, because the idea with development of our devotional practice is that we are developing a specific mood as part of our practice in this life. Yeah. So the stages, of course, someone might not achieve this platform before they leave the body, but they will continue in the next life. But let's just say someone's achieved this stage. They know what their relationship, or they have a deep, deep intuitive appreciation of Krishna, like a gopa or a gopi. So it's not as if they've got no idea, because they're cultivating their relationship here for the place they're going to go. That's called Raganuga's practice. You're cultivating that attraction that you have developed here in this material world, you know. So then you'll go, and you can't go there unless you do that. Yeah. You can't go there unless you want to go there in a specific relationship. And then there's no loss of definition. I mean, if you don't come to that stage in this life, then you just carry on in the next life. You'll be ecstatic devotee in the next life. You're just coming at nishta. You're coming at ruchi. You know, yeah, come in and you just complete the process. All right, that's just a bit of a side comment there. I can see as we really get into the philosophy and really understand, we can really understand how development or perfection actually happens. So it's not as if you've got no idea, and you should have some idea, hopefully. You know. All right, let me see how many. Let's just finish this slide. Okay. Okay. So I'll go over a couple of minutes. Is that okay? I'll take advantage of only a couple of us here. Okay. Now where was we? Yeah. Now, yeah, there is other transcendental ingredients, which is Sattvika Bhav and also Vyapachari Bhav, and all these described in Next Devotion. We won't get to those details. But all these different ingredients combined with the Stahi Bhav, this is called rasa. That's the full definition of rasa. Raso Vajam Rasol Pasya. It doesn't just mean mood, it means these ingredients based on one's Stahi Bhav of different ecstasies that flow in a relationship with Krishna, with Radha and Krishna. It's called rasa. Yeah. So, yeah, so Maharaj mentions that this stage of ecstatic devotion, bhava, it's like the stage of practice is very dynamic. Hopefully, we can experience that in our life, that we lead a very dynamic life. Externally, it may be not very dynamic, but internally, we're leading a very, very dynamic life. We're on the biggest adventure anyone can imagine internally. Okay, we may not be climbing up the Himalayas or doing a bungee jump, but real dynamic is this development of our Krishna consciousness. Okay, let me read out my. Okay, let's finish this slide. Okay, so Marge mentions that both stages practice at this stage as well. There's chanting, hearing. That's called or activities of the senses, chesta. Yeah, chesta rupa. Yeah, what we're doing with our senses that nourish and cultivate Krishna consciousness. Now, the difference between the two stages is that devotees that practice, they're practicing to invoke ecstatic love, where at the stage of bhava, their practice is a result of ecstatic love. The consequential results of ecstatic love is to do devotional service. You see the difference? But for those who haven't achieved, they're doing it to achieve ecstatic love. Yeah.
So the stage of practice is basically based on effort, and the other one is more like a
Result.
spontaneous.
Yeah, it's a result of the heart is running ahead and we're running after it.
Yeah,
We're
that's
running after
nice.
what our heart and what we're attracted to. Yeah.
Could it also be that the activities of practice are the natural culture that's happening there as well? I guess it's like if their practice is the overspill of their emotion, then it becomes
Yeah.
it visibly is the same.
Yeah, Prabhupada Nectar Devotion describes it like trying to teach, well, when you're teaching a child to walk. I mean, it's there, the ability is there in the child, it just comes out. So at this stage, it's come out. One is there for when a child can walk. Now at this stage, you know. Yeah, so now this stage, devotees, they cultivating the 9 limbs of devotion, which helps to further stimulate their ecstatic love. Oh yeah, nearly, yeah. Now this stage of cultivation, this purposeful, a lot of this goes on within what Marge calls one's bhajan. So at this stage, one's chanting is technically called a nam bhajan. You heard this word nam bhajan. Let's go and do some bhajans, Prabhu. Yeah, but that's why the term nam bhajan is normally used to this stage of absorption. Yeah. Now, yeah, the level of practice, devotees' advancement is gradual. Why? Because they're tied to the material world still with various attachments. Yeah. It's like, it's like someone who's bound trying to free themselves, or like try to run in the swimming pool. It's very, someone just pushing you back. Now, at this stage, there is nothing holding the devotee back. Nothing at all. They are on the spiritual platform. Yeah. And so their chanting, it's free from any material hang-ups. So it's fully potent. Yeah. At this stage, things move faster. Yeah. At this stage, it gives rapid results, propels one towards love of God. Yeah. Hari Om, that's it. Okay. So next week, we just gave a definition of ecstatic devotion. We're going to look at its primary characteristics and its secondary characteristics. Okay. We're going to delve into that and this and that. Okay. So thank you for joining us. Hare Krishna. I'm not sure I got plan for the rest of the day? A mellow Christmas day. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's really nice.
Hare Hare.
Best way to spend Christmas.
Oh, the Premanand, yeah. Merry Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Cool.
Hare Hare. Hare Ram.
Hare Bol.
Ram Ram. Hare Hare.